The real intro for Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers isn't United in Grief, even though that is the first track on the album. And obviously, who am I to say, no, it's not. It says right there, #1 United in Grief. I believe to be N95. An important thing to know about Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper, N95 is the most explosive, high energetic song on the entire project. After 5 years since Kendrick Lamar's last album, Damn, it felt a bit weird having a song like United in Grief be the first song on the track, or the first track on the album that we're introduced to all of a sudden get this hyped up, explosive track to then go back down to being more mellow as the songs continue on. It felt out of place. And whenever we look into N95, it makes sense in the themes that were presented in the album to what we experienced in our own life with COVID. That N95 should be the intro and not United in Grief. Even though Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is an album that dives deep into Kendrick Lamar's traumas, into basically a giant therapy session for Kendrick Lamar as he continues to learn more about himself, especially over these past 5 years, especially with the pandemic, family, so on and so forth. N95 feels like the continuation, the grand intro to what all of us could relate to. It going on into the intro, hello new world, all the boys and girls, I got some true stories to tell. Kendrick Lamar has been out of the game for 5 years. It just makes sense that he has some true stories to tell. We've been waiting, Kendrick, we've been waiting for these stories, man. Let's hear it. You're back outside, but they still lied. We're finally out of the COVID era, the pandemic, an era where the fraudsters, where the liars, where a lot of false narratives were able to cloud the truth and take the world for a spin. You're back outside, but they still lie. Finishing off with that whoa, singing it out, and we're getting the rhythm. And that right there, before I even dived into anything else on N95, just feels like a perfect setup for Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Not United in Grief. Whenever we go and revisit United in Grief, which is an amazing track, it is. But if we go into the intro, it is slow, it's somber. Tell him the truth, going on into those vocals. Kendrick himself saying, I've been going through something. 1,855 days I've been going through something, which also, it relates to the overall theme. We get it. But the fact that N95 is as high energy as it is, and it's the second track, and it goes back to being somber, we're worldwide steppers, it just doesn't feel right. And I've experimented with this because I changed the track list. I changed it up. I did something major but minor. I just switched the album from starting off with N95 going into United in Grief, and it's such a smoother listen. As far as the themes that are presented, it just flows better. It feels better. It sounds better. It makes sense. And that's why I just want to say, I hit myself on the mic here, sorry. I just want to say that N95 is the true album intro to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, just based on the first 30 seconds, the themes presented, the amount of time we had to wait, the events that were basically everybody in the world was going through. And then whenever we do continue on throughout the albums, United in Grief flows better into Worldwide Steppers, going on to Die Hard, going on to Father Time. If we were to start off with N95, it is a nice, not escalation, it is a nice somber, how would I say this, feel. There's a good feel going through the track list, going through the track sequencing. Narratives aside, sonically, it just goes one by one, I would like to say perfectly. But having N95 on that second spot does feel a bit random sonically, as much as I do love it. It's like you wake up once that album, once United in Grief is over, you wake up to N95, you're like, oh shit, this is what we've been waiting for. This is the Kendrick we've been waiting for. And then to, go back down, just remove all of that energy that's been built up. It's like, all right, what are we doing here? It feels off. What's going on? And that's why I have N95 as the real album intro to Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper.